بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله الأزكياء وأصحابه الأتقياء أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Hope everyone is doing well as we continue on with being in quarantine as it is and being at home. And alhamdulillah, we are blessed that we have started this month of Ramadan. I hope everyone's fast is going well. Um, it's going to be a very interesting and a very different Ramadan for us. But at the same time, what's very important for us to do in the midst of all that's going on is to not really forget the most important element and aspect of this month. This month is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has granted to us in order to allow us every single year a chance to come closer to Him, a chance to be able to shrug off the shaitan and his whispers and be able to really connect ourselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that's not possible otherwise. When you think about how to understand this situation that we're in, I'll mention as well that, kind of tied to this is that we really have to understand that the most important thing in this time for us is tawakkul. And what do I mean by tawakkul? And I first and foremost, we have to understand tawakkul in the right way. In that, when we talk about tawakkul, this is not a single element. This is not a single action that is, that tawakkul is in and of itself. In fact, tawakkul can be something that is many actions. The Prophet ﷺ was asked by a man, as we all know, the very famous hadith, that Ya Rasulullah, aqiluha wa atawakkalu. Should I tie this camel and should I then have reliance on Allah, or aqiluha wa atawakkalu, that, or should I simply just leave it and just rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The Prophet ﷺ made it clear that his responsibility was going to be more than simply just saying, Allah, take care of this for me. He had a responsibility to very much do something physically himself before he would get to a point where he could simply say that I rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for us, brothers and sisters, the time that we're living in, this is very much key today as well. The reality is, yes, we have to balance and understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of all things. So if we're never meant to get the coronavirus, we're not going to get the coronavirus. And may Allah protect us from it. But at the same token, what is so important to understand is that we still have to take the steps necessary in order to protect ourselves from it. Right? So wearing a face mask out in public, going in being mindful of keeping distances when we're out, out and about. These are some elements and some things that we're going to be doing, especially as the state moves towards opening up. We're definitely going to start practicing these much more and more. But what's so important for us to recognize, brothers and sisters, is that that is that aspect of tawakkul for us. We need to still act on that first part of making sure that we're doing our part, because we don't know the future. Do I know what's going to happen to me in 5 minutes, let alone 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? I don't know any of that. So the key element for us to bear in mind and to keep that's relevant for us is that tawakkul for us in these times is going to be making sure we do our part and then asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us. That is what's so key. We cannot simply be like those individuals who are saying, oh no, it won't happen or it's not real. We don't deny reality in Islam. We are very, very conscious and very, very cognizant of what reality is around us. And we don't simply deny it because it's inconvenient to us. So why is this relevant as we begin Ramadan? Because, brothers and sisters, there's a couple things, number one, that we need to keep in mind. First and foremost, this month is offering us this opportunity to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if that is the case, if it is the case that we have a chance to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to come closer to Him in this time, then know that this is not by accident, and we have a part to play in this. We have to be very, very mindful that, you know what, I have a chance to literally tie my camel here by connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month of Ramadan. My tawakkul on Allah is that in this month, when I'm home for the entire month of Ramadan, when I'm sitting in my house, I can't really go out and about, I'm still going to do my part, and then I'm going to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, my responsibility is to connect. My responsibility is to perform ibadah, to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if I don't perform that responsibility, then the only one at fault is me, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is so key to remember. Because tawakkul, if we're going to have tawakkul that Allah is going to guide us, to help us, to make us better Muslims, and inshallah He will, then we have to do our part, brothers and sisters. We have to perform some form of ibadah. What that is, we'll get to in a moment. We have to read Quran and build a relationship with the Quran. We have to allow ourselves to be better as slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the important thing to understand is that, well, how do I connect? How do I, if I, just don't do stuff, and this is Ramadan now, well, what do you want me to do? How am I supposed to now suddenly all of a sudden just get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The first thing to remember, brothers and sisters, is that it is very, very slow. The process is not a fast one. The month of Ramadan is just one month amongst the other 12. It is not the month that you simply connect and then disconnect for the rest of the year. The month is actually meant to be a springboard for the next 11 months, right? And so what I would tell us, what I would tell, the community, and what I would say to anybody who's seeking to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first, know that your efforts will never go in vain. Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin. Allah never wastes the efforts of those who do good. And this is so gratifying, subhanAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a shakur. He is the appreciative. And think about that for a moment. Because you and I, if we do something nice for someone, if we help someone, we do something good, then absolutely us being appreciative is something that makes sense. It's something that actually is in many ways incumbent upon us because of the fact that someone else did something that we may or may not have been able to otherwise do. But at the same token, when you consider that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has full control over all things. And when He has full control, when He has absolute ability, then brothers and sisters, if He's appreciating, think about what that means, subhanAllah. That the one who controls all things is taking notice and appreciating whatever action of good it is that we did. There's an anecdotal story that has been mentioned in regards to a time long past where a man was there was a magician, and another man came to him seeking to to have a woman fall in love with him. Now the magician said, "Okay, well, I'll give you this thing that will help you to do so, but in order for it to work, you can't perform any good deeds. You can't do anything good for 40 days." And so the man goes and he comes back after 40 days. He says, "You didn't do anything good, right?" He says, "Yeah, I didn't." So he says, "Okay, here you go." He gives him this item, this magic trinket. And when he leaves, he comes back. He says, "Hey, it didn't work. I don't understand what's going on." He says, "Did you do what I told you? I told you not to do anything good." And the man says, "Yeah, I didn't do anything." He said, "Okay, think hard. Did you do anything? Anything at all? Are you sure?" So the only thing I even did that was just like maybe good is that I picked up a piece of trash out of the road. And in this story, the man becomes he becomes someone who recognizes that, wow, that you follow a religion, you are a monotheist who follows a religion of a God who rewards for something even that minute, simply picking up trash out of the road. And the key point here, brothers and sisters, is that this is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The smallest things that we do are the things that will be appreciated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. along with the larger things. But the best part is أحب الأعمال إلى الله أدومها وإن قل, as the Prophet ﷺ said, the most beloved deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those which are consistent, even if they're small. Consistent, even if they're small. And this is what's the key point is, brothers and sisters, that if we want to build, if we want to grow, to tie our camel, if you will, as it relates to building our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a few things that we have to really take into consideration. The first and foremost is you're not going to suddenly sprout religiosity, if you will, out of nowhere. Ramadan comes and the shaitan is locked up, but our nafs are still very much present. Our internal selves is still there. And if we've spent our entire year feeding our nafs, every time we wanted something, we wanted to do something, whether it was permissible or not, we just did it, then the switch is not suddenly going to flip in Ramadan. It's not just going to be suddenly, oh, okay, now I'm, going to do only good. It's not realistic. And in fact, if we understand this idea of doing things consistently, they say consistency is the mother of all success. And the reason is because consistency offers the opportunity for growth. If you do something once that you may not have done, if you do, let's say, something 100 times and you're consistent with it, every single day you've done this thing, every single day for 100 days, you are 100% better every single day. You're 100% because otherwise you wouldn't have been doing anything. Anything, if you do nothing, that's zero. If you do something, that's 100% better than it was before. So, the first thing, brothers and sisters, is to be mindful that no matter what it is we do this Ramadan, it is something, excuse me, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will appreciate. And the second thing for us to do is to recognize that the time that we're in offers us the chance to be able to start that process of building. But what is that process of building? It's something that takes time. We have to actually, in some ways, really kind of hold back from what we feel like we could do. And this is only relevant for those people who feel like they still are trying to get a foothold. They haven't been able to do anything consistently. If you want to have something consistent in your life, the best thing you can do is to start figure out what it is that your capacity, so to speak, is. So, for example, if I'm talking about reading the Quran, if I feel like my capacity is only to do one page in a single day, one page, once I read a one page, I feel like I've done, a good amount, I feel fulfilled. If you feel like that's your capacity, then do half a page. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous. That sounds funny because I just said if your capacity is one page. But the reason I say that is because when we complete even half a page, right? If that's our capacity is one page. If we complete half a page, now for the next day, we're leaving ourselves hungry. We're still hungry for more because you feel like I could do more. Why not do more? But when you hold yourself back just a little bit, you feel hungry for the next day. So guess what happens? The next day you get up and you're ready to do this and you're like, okay, I want to get to it. Let's get to it because I can do more. And then you do that half page and you're sitting there like, I could have done 2 pages. I want to do more. But if you hold yourself back, then this keeps building, brothers and sisters. And then, inshallah, we can shift and we can continue to grow. So go from half a page every single day, now moving to a page every single day. And that's a very personal journey. That's a very personal thing that we have to figure out for ourselves. But the key is that we do figure that out. We do build this consistent relationship with the Quran, with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the best way to do so is to leave ourselves hungry by starting very small and allowing ourselves to continue to grow. I want to finish, brothers and sisters, because I'm not going to go for too long, but I want to finish by reminding us what this month really offers us the opportunity for. You know, I want you to really think about the fact that to save one life, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, Man ahyaha faka'annama ahya nasa jami'a. Whoever saves one life is as if they have saved all of humanity. This is something that we always, always, always hear, quoted, number one, and particularly it gets quoted when individuals come and try to tell people, tell us that na'udhu billah, Islam is seeking to hurt people or is violent or whatever it might be. And so we mention this verse. We say that to save one life is as if you saved all of humanity. I want you to really take a second and ask yourself a question. There is such a great emphasis placed here in this verse on saving one single life, okay, in this world, okay, in saving one life in this world. As we know, everything in the next life is multiplied by a measure by an amount that we can't measure. So, what does it mean if one soul, even one soul, is taken and saved from hellfire to be put in eternal paradise? Think about that for a second. What does that mean? This, brothers and sisters, this month of Ramadan, subhanAllah, this is the month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has closed the gates of hellfire. And it's the month that we have an opportunity to really, really find ourselves and find our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'll tell you something particular, that this month in particular, in this moment in history, is even more so. Because so many of us, brothers and sisters, are unencumbered by the commute to work. We don't have to sit in the office for hours on end, which means that the time that we would have spent in these places is now being spent in other places, right? It's being spent in places where we are more comfortable. And what is so key for us is that we use this time, we use this opportunity to really find ourselves, to do tadabbur, as we call it, to do some introspection. That one page capacity that I was talking about, the way that we begin to find it is asking ourselves and sitting and really contemplating, well, what is my capacity? What has my relationship with the Quran been? What has my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked like over the last year? How have I improved from this Ramadan, from the past Ramadan to this Ramadan? Perhaps where have I, being brutally honest, where have I in fact become worse? And you see, brothers and sisters, if we're not honest with ourselves, then we're not going to be honest with anyone. We have to be honest with ourselves in that assessment, because to be honest with ourselves is to prepare ourselves for growth. The first step to solving any problem is admitting that there is one. And so, brothers and sisters, take time, take this opportunity, take being at home, sit after your Dhuhr Salah. Excuse me. Sit after Dhuhr Salah and just close your eyes and ponder. Close your eyes and ask yourself. Take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, take an hour, whatever it is that you need, and ask yourself, where have I fallen short? Where have I gotten better? How can I improve even more? What is it that I can do? And then make resolutions for this Ramadan, brothers and sisters. Because if you don't have a plan, what do you have really? If you don't have a plan to get better, you don't have anything. You're not actually looking to get better. Make a resolution. Make resolutions in the plurality if you can, if you find things that you can. But this is a personal thing. I can't tell you what it is that you should be getting better at, because I don't know. I don't know what it is that you perhaps need in your life in this moment. But that's something that, with honest introspection, with honest tadabbur, sincere advice to yourself, you can find that in yourself. You can find the opportunity to really understand what it is that you need in this month of Ramadan, in this unique situation caused by the coronavirus. And I want to finish, brothers and sisters, by just reminding us that this test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this truly is a test. This is something that we are going to be asked about. That what did you use this time for? You you know, at the very least, perhaps, whether it's a good excuse or not, if we stood in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, I had to go to work and I had to take care of this and I had to help this person and do this, that's why I couldn't read extra Quran. That's why I wasn't able to do other ibadat. But now, in this time that we're in, what's our excuse if we can't go out? What's the answer for why it is that we didn't do more? And this is tying all back, brothers and sisters, to this element of tying our camel, because we can't simply push it off later and say, Inshallah. Oh, this is the time. This is the moment. We have to do our part and then have tawakkul, have certainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us through and help us get better and help us to be able to build a relationship with Him. And the reason we know that for certain is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who make an effort, those who try, who strive in us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we will absolutely guide them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Himself, it is His word, aka His promise. Inna Allah la yukhliful mi'ad. Allah does not go against His promise. Allah's words are, if you make that effort, if you strive, if you put in the time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it won't go to waste. You will not lose what you invest. So, brothers and sisters, take this opportunity. Do sincere tadabbur of your own self. Ask yourself how you can improve, how you can get better, and how we can use this month of Ramadan and prepare yourself. Prepare yourself and get yourself ready, because with anything else in our lives, we would tie our camels. And if we don't do so with our deen, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, one that we will answer for in the most frightening of ways in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for our shortcomings. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all of our ibadat, all of our efforts. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this month of Ramadan the most Mubarak month that we've had in our lives and until the next. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته وصلى اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بارك الله فيكم.